What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the first batch of revealed cards from Rage of the Abyss. That is the next core booster set coming after the Infinite Forbidden. And I think that this set is probably going to drop into TCG either late October or early November. It'll definitely be before the end of 2024. Shoutouts to Konami, not forgetting about Shark and the Zexal characters, because obviously our last couple of core booster sets have been Yu-Gi-Oh! DM focused. They've had Yugi cards, but now we're going to Zexal. You know, Shark had some support in the Water Legendary Duelist, and now he is the cover theme of this set. So if you are a Shark player, time to get hyped, because you got a bunch of new support cards, and a few of these are quite good, like the first card, Surfacing Jaws. It's a level 4 that is a play starter, and it's an extender, and it doesn't need up your normal summon, which is phenomenal for Sharks, because they got a lot of good normal summons, so they need like extenders and stuff like that. Your first and second are hard once per turns. Your first effect says if a spell is activated this turn, you can special summon this card from your hand. Now, you are locked into Equi monsters after you do that for the rest of the turn, but it doesn't matter. All of these Sharks, a lot of these Zexal archetypes just use Equi monsters anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. Second effect, if this card is normal or specialed, you can add one fish shark from your deck to your hand, so instant search, and it also does not eat up your normal summon. Phenomenal card. The third effect is that it can be treated as a 3 or a 5 if you're going for a water Equi monster, so you do have a little bit of options. It doesn't have to be immediate Bahamut Shark Toad play, but you know, you want to do that if you feel like your opponent could have Nib or other hand traps. Drake Shark is one of the best cards you can probably search, because this is essentially a water version of Poplar. It's got like the same summoning conditions, also a level 4 with a hard once per turn on your first and second. If it's added to your hand except drawing it, special summon it, boom, that is literally Poplar. That's how you basically get that card on the field without ever normal summoning it. Your second effect is if this card is used as Equi material for a water Equi that uses 3 or more materials, you can use it as, or can be treated as 2 materials, which that is something that desperately needed to exist during Zexal, because Zexal had this kind of bad habit of having the cover cards be these giant, impossible to summon Equi monsters that needed, you know, 3-4 materials that were just too impossible to summon, especially when you could just, you know, summon a tour guide and go into Zamighty, or you could just summon a rescue rabbit and instantly summon an Evolzer. Like, nobody was trying to use 3-4 monsters for an Equi monster unless it was Shockmaster, and that card could just win you the game. So I like this because it helps you get into those bigger monsters, especially the Shark Drake Equi monster, not the one that was the cover of Abyss Rising, but like the little form of that, because I think the Abyss Rising cover card was the Chaos form. Anyways, your final effect, kind of like Pearly Pretty Memory, it says you can detach one, well, yeah, it's when you have this card as an Equi material on a Shark Drake Equi monster, you can detach 2 materials, then you can target a spell and trap on the field, attach it as materials. Again, very similar to Purely Pretty Memory, it's just not quite as good, because I know that card could attach any of your opponent's cards. Next card is Armored Shark. It's not quite as good. It's always counted as an Armored Equi. This card dumps a water Equi monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then it reborns a fish monster that has the same level. So it's kind of a weird roundabout monster reborn with some extra steps. I don't like that this card's not an extender. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in the graveyard, you can target a water Equi. You equip this card as an equipped spell, and then you give that monster 500 attack. Maybe I'm missing something. I see no reason to run this card. The last 2 cards were excellent, but this one eats up your normal summon, and I don't think either effect is really all that good. We've got the cover card, which obviously is going to be a boss monster. This is a number 32 Shark Dragon Leviathan. Shark Drake Leviathan. I think the old one was Shark Drake Fortress, the cover card of Abyss Rising. Anyways, it requires 4 level 5s, but ain't nobody got time for all of that, so we can cheat summon this card. You can cheat summon this card by discarding a spell and then using 1 rank 4 Shark Drake Equi monster, which again, you can use either the cover card of Abyss Rising, or you can use the little non-C version, which is probably what you're going to do, because you can make that card for 1 card if you use Big Jaws into Shark Drake, because he counts as 2 Equi materials. 3 effects on this bad boy. First effect is basically it's like an imperm on crack. You can, it's a quick effect. You target one of your opponent's monsters, detach a material. You negate that monster's effects, and you change its attack to 0 and its defense to 0 as well. This card can make 2 attacks during the battle phase, and then third, you get piercing damage as well. So this card is probably what like Sharks needed back in Zexal era to be competitive, but it's nice to have it now. I wish you didn't have to discard the spell, because then they could make this for literally one card, but it's still a good card nonetheless. Definitely something that they probably needed a long time ago. We have a new version of Leviathan Dragon. I mean, basically like the very similar, same stats, same materials, all that good stuff. If this card is special summon, you can add one Virtue Stream from your deck to your hand, and then the second effect lets you pick and choose which effect you get. You can detach one Icarus material from this card. You can add a fish, a sea serpent, or aqua from your graveyard to your hand, which obviously can kind of trigger Drake Shark if you have them in the graveyard. And then you get the additional effect where you can target 2 Icarus monsters on the field. You detach one material from them, and then you attach it to the other as material, which I guess is supposed to be a way to get like more materials on, you know, your C32 Shark Drake or something like that. I don't really know if they're going to play this card. Like, the thing about Sharks is they have a pretty like tight extra deck with like all those Icarus monsters. We have a spell card, a couple of spell cards. Surface Aqua Jet, normal spell, both hard once per turns on the effect. Special summon one level 4 or lower fish, aqua, or sea serpent from your hand or graveyard. If you do, you can't special summon anything from the extra deck except Icarus monsters, so simple monster reborn. And then the second effect says, if your opponent controls an attack position monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. I think this card's really good. I don't think that there is a way to search this, but I think this card's phenomenal because it basically is just a monster reborn, but then you also, like, if your opponent has any monster in attack mode, you just get 1,000 attack on one of your guys for free. So that's going to be useful, especially when you already got the 1-for-1 because you got the monster reborn. You have an equip spell, which is not all that great. It says that it's a hard once per turn. It's always treated as an armored Icarus card, which I believe makes it searchable. An Icarus monster equipped with this card gains the following effects. It can't be destroyed by battle, and then once per turn, if it battled this turn, quick effect, you can return one equipped card equipped to this card to the hand. Immediately after this effect resolves, Icarus summon one water Icarus monster. Second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Equip it from your graveyard to an Icarus monster you control during the end phase of this turn. It's like a cute card. I guess, you know, you can Icarus summon during the battle phase and stuff, but like probably not enough reason to run a random equipped. I mean, I get that it's searchable, but probably not enough reason. We've got a couple of trap cards. I believe the first one is the Icarus Attack, which is Virtue Stream. Keep in mind, this is the searchable one from the new kind of like Leviathan Icarus monster. The first and second effects are hard once per turn, but you can use them both in one turn. A first effect says target a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster you control, and 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them. That is just standard Icarus Attack. There are a bunch of different archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have cards like that. Generally speaking, especially when they're searchable, these are pretty solid cards because monster or, you know, mass removal is generally pretty good. Although I don't know if you technically consider that mass removal. Anyway, second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one face-up monster on the field, apply this effect based on its attribute. If it's a water, the next time it would be destroyed by a card effect, it is not destroyed. And if it's not a water, then that monster becomes water, which could actually be a cheeky way of Gozen matching your opponent. A lot of water decks tend to run Gozen match. That can be a way of forcing one of your opponent's monsters into water. Flip over Gozen match, or if you have Gozen match active, your opponent is now like fully locked into water until they get that monster on the field. So, you know, it's like a nice little cheeky way of locking them. And then finally, we have Equi Poseidon Splash, which I think that this isn't this like an old trap? I think that this is an old trap, but like a retrain of it. Your first and second effects are hard once per turns. Unfortunately, I do not, like, you can't stack these. You gotta pick and choose which one you want to use. First effect, if you control an Icarus monster that has an Icarus monster as material, declare one attribute among monsters on the field. Destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute that are not equipped with an equipped spell. Second effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard and detach one Icarus material from your monster. Special summon a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster from your graveyard to either field. This card seems a little like confusing. I get that the first effect is, can be like a Regeki, I guess, to your opponent. I mean, maybe you call fire at the right time and you just nuke all fire, and you're probably going to have a field of water. So I think the first effect is fine. Second effect is, no, I guess it's actually not that bad. It seems like it could be a little situational because you have to control an Equi monster that also has an Equi monster as a material. So that could be like a little difficult. But I guess with your new Chaos 32, he will meet that condition because you're going to have the old Drake under it. But overall, I think that like some of these cards are really good. Like Drake Shark is excellent. Big Jaws is excellent. I think that those two emphatically will be played in the Shark deck. And then maybe the new 32, the new boss monster, depending on how much room people have in the extra deck, because the extra deck is tight nowadays for a lot of these archetypes, and I'm starting to get to the point where it's like maybe we need to move the extra deck to 20 cards, but that's a different discussion for another day. What do you guys think of the new Shark support? Leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always.